Hi, guys. Good to see you today. I know that normally Sundays are now my day off. Hi, Cheryl. But today I decided that I'm going to do a live on Sunday anyway because of, yeah, exactly, live on Sunday. Because today is a special day. Today at 4 to 5 to maybe 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hi, David. Hi, Ava. Hi, Scooter. Hi, Juju. Hi, Sherry. Malcontent's podcast is airing, and I figured, I am incredibly antsy and anxious about it because I am a guest on that podcast. So I figured that in order to deal with the little bits of anxiety that I have about it coming out, I'm going to do the news. Hi, Jillian. Hi, Gap. Hi, Veronica. Hi, Carolyn. Hi, Jillian. Hello, it's Sunday. What you doing here? I just explained it. Hi, Solomon. Hi, Mariana. Hi, Kaparisik. I really appreciate Veronica's Veronica's concern for my sanity. I am good. Hi, Tony. Hi, Mr. Kotik or M. Krotik. Have to use YouTube because TikTok is updating. Gotcha. Well, so as I said, today Malcontent's podcast, the Russia-Ukraine war update is coming out, and I'm a guest on that podcast, and it's coming out at around 4 p.m. Eastern or 5 p.m. Eastern, maybe 6 p.m. Eastern. He said 5 p.m. Eastern, an hour give or take. So I'm anxious about it because on that podcast, I'm going to be talking about Donbass history, about Azov, and about a lot of subjects that are considered highly controversial in the Western world. So, hi, Joe. Hi, Robin. Hi, David. Hi. Oh, Willie. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Graham. So the thing is, Malcontent hasn't been, in fact, on very often because he's been slammed with the podcast, and the podcast has really taken off, and it does take up a lot of time and a lot of space, and it's a really good podcast, and so he's focusing on the podcast at the moment. Hi, Beatrice. Hi, Walasi. Boa tarde. Hi, Theo, and hi, Crazy Cat. Hi, Auntie. So that's what he's doing, and we recorded the podcast on Thursday, and I'm very, very excited to see what came out of that. Ciao. Buonanotte. Mi scusa. Buonanotte. Hi, Karine. Hi, Small Points. So you flattened the propaganda in that podcast, Veronica says on YouTube. Kinda. But what is the podcast titled? The podcast is titled The Russia-Ukraine War Update, and it's both on Spotify, on Apple Music, it's on so many platforms. Oh my God. But Spotify and Apple Music are the two that I know the best. So these are the ones that I guess, that I suggest you find it on. Hi, Darlene. Hi, Peter. So it's a great podcast. They actually do a situational report on the invasion every day. It's about 25 minutes, I believe, or half an hour. And so it's a really good podcast. Veronica says, how Tork would say the stereotype. Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. Tork likes to say. So if you guys haven't still seen, there is an interview with an incredible defender of Ukraine. He is from the Azov regiment. His call name is Tork. And I have, at this point, become friends with Tork. I think he is so incredibly tired of me at this point because anytime I have a question about Azov, thank you, Nina, or I have a question about anything that's going on within the realm of Azov or anybody who has ever been connected to Azov in any way, I'm like, oh my gosh, Tork. And I ask him a question. He's like, Yulia, there are more than 2,000 of us. I don't know every single person in the regiment. I don't know them. I don't know what to tell you. And I'm like, ah. But so yeah. Uh but I was just, I was like Tork in his interview, anytime he talks about how Russians treated them, he goes, "Well, we're going back to stereotypes here." And so I think Veronica is like referring to that. But he's a very, very charming guy. He's very good. He is actually, oh my gosh. So I think Tork by accident is going to be on the David Letterman show, because the other day in Kyiv, he was on one of the main streets, and he was like laying some photos and some like memoriam to certain to certain Azov servicemen who unfortunately have died within the course of the invasion of Mariupol. And he's like, and I look around, and there is like so much military, and there are like cameras everywhere, and he's like, and there is Netflix and stuff. And so someone comes up to him, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And so he explains what he was doing, and they were like, "Would you mind answering a couple of questions and like saying a couple of words?" And he was like, "Sure." And so it turns out it was a filming of Netflix was filming something with David Letterman in Ukraine. And so Tork just ended up being here. Speaking of like Tork being the luckiest man in the world, and so he ended up like basically answering some questions, except he was saying that he regrets saying that he needs a translator, because he said that what he was saying wasn't translated the right way. At least he thinks that way. Wasn't translated the right way by the girl who was the translator. And he's like, "I wish I just did it in my English, like with as much English as like I knew." But yeah, so that's fantastic. Tork was on, Tork most likely will be on David Letterman on Netflix, like a tiny little appearance. So yeah, he was like so funny. He was like, "Yeah, there was this like American comedian, and I forgot what his name is, like Anthony Letterman or like Brian Letterman." And I'm like, "David Letterman." But so yeah, so that was really fun. And Tork is slowly becoming the America's sweetheart, America's sweetheart of the Ukrainian servicemen. I kid, but I really I think Tork is fantastic, and I really wish him all the best, and I really hope that everything in life is gonna be fantastic for him, and everything is just gonna be up from here. I think he's such a like good, humble, decent, amazing, and like very open and down to earth guy. I genuinely like I really feel for him, as in like I'm so happy that I was able to not only speak to him but also develop some sort of like a friendship with him, because he's fantastic. He's a really, really great guy. I'm really proud that people like him are defending our country, and I'm really like proud to know someone like him. So yeah. So that's that. That is that. Okay, so Armin commented about something, and he said there is an RT presenter, and I just read about this too. So I'm going to read to you specifically what happened. So I'm gonna read you. One sec. I am going to read you what Armin said, and I'm gonna expand on it. So Armin said everyone should read about the RT presenter Anton Krasovsky. It's truly horrific. He's openly promoting the mass killing of Ukrainian children. So here is what he said. On Russia's state-funded RT, Director of Broadcasting Anton Krasovsky suggested drowning or burning Ukrainian children, made hideous comments about the sexual assault by Russian soldiers in Ukraine, says Ukraine should not exist, and Ukrainians who resist Russia should be shot. So I'm going to go on Twitter, and I'm going to show you this. There is a bit, and it's translated. And I'm going to show it to you because it's truly, truly horrific. And I think that most people should see it. to understand exactly what's happening within this horrifying country. Okay. He is disgusting. I mean, honestly, at this point, I believe most Russians are. It's disgusting what's happening in their country, and I can't believe that this is like still allowed and people are still questioning things and people are still blaming Ukraine. It's insane. It's insane to me. Okay, so I'm going to switch the camera so you guys can see it. But I'm gonna do...
В общем-то, у меня ощущение, что общественное мнение, оно вошло в такой самоподдерживающийся истерический цикл.
Да, там истерики по любому поводу.
Да, то есть это все уже вышло на совершенно безумный уровень вранья, на совершенно какой-то болезненный уровень фантазий. Там, вспомним всю эту историю про Виагру, которую, оказывается, пачками выдают
нашим солдатам, чтобы насиловать украинских бабок. Господи, бабки гробовые бы еще все потратили на то, чтобы их насиловали русские солдаты. Мне казалось, что всегда ненавидели русских, вернее так, те люди, которые идентифицировали себя как а не как русские. И просто какому-то большому количеству русских, какое-то большое количество русских заставили поверить в то, что они хотят.
Я в 80-м году первый раз оказался на Украине ребенком еще. И вот там мне украинские дети, они рассказывали про то, что Украина оккупирована москалями, что если бы не москали, они бы жили как во Франции, а вот они страдают, потому что оккупированы. Причем это были не украинские дети, которые украинцы говорят по-украински. Такие там тоже были, они были совершенно нормальные.
А откуда были эти дети?
Это были совершенно русскоязычные, с русскими фамилиями пацаны, которые... У кого-то там отец был военный, у кого-то кто-то еще. То есть это были абсолютно русские, русскоязычные, но
А прям топить таких надо было в Тысыне. Прям вот там, где плыны кача. Вот прям топить этих детей, топить.
Это не
прям
ваш
в Тысыне. Это не ваш метод, поэтому вы интеллигентные люди, писатели-фантасты. А это наш метод. Вот прям сказал, что, так сказать, москали оккупировали, и сразу прям бросаешь в реку с бурным течением.
Вообще для этой цели на Руси традиционно использовали розги. Они лучше, чем река, работали.
А я вот там у них есть такая, там каждое, значит, говно называется, у них, так сказать, там такие домики есть куча очень, очень плохих, чудовищных. То есть они же засрали Карпаты, они их уничтожили на самом деле. То есть Карпаты это отвратительно. И там каждая, значит, изба называется Сморякова хата. И вот прям в эту Сморякову хату прямо забивать и сжечь.
Советский Союз, он был тяжело, конечно, болен. И вот Украина, это была, наверное, одна из самых таких пораженных его точек.
А она, наверное, была пораженная точка. Почему? Потому что ее вообще не должно существовать. Украина должна оставаться на карте мира?
Я, честно говоря, думаю, что да, потому что там останется в любом случае большое количество людей, с которыми не хотелось бы жить в одном государстве.
Ну, расстреляем.
This is so incredibly disgusting to me. I mean, it's incredibly disgusting to everyone who's a conscious, normal human being, but it's so incredibly disgusting. There are two, war criminals, sick people, literally talking about burning children and shooting Ukrainians for not wanting to be Russian. And then those same people are saying they're liberating Ukraine from Ukrainians who hate Russians. Are you kidding me? If you're saying that even the Russian-speaking Ukrainians were telling you that they don't want to have anything to do with you who were kids, then who are you liberating? Who are you liberating? By what? By burning them because they don't agree with you? It's that entire thing is so disgusting. And when they're saying that, like, and when they're saying that uh, oh yeah, so our soldiers would assay grandmas, those grandmas would pay their last pension to be assayed by Russian soldiers. Oh my god, they're so disgusting. These are sick people. By only one madman? First of all, whoever that troll is on TikTok who's saying, by only one madman, why am I judging all Russians by only one madman? Well, these are two, so learn to count. Then there is three, who is Putin. Then there is Shoigu, who is four. Then there is an army of Russian soldiers who are committing atrocities in Ukraine. So that is not one, is it? That is not one, is it? I think you need to work on your math, buddy. Disgusting. And the Russian apologists are disgusting too. I think also if you look at the testimonies of Ukrainians being beaten abroad by Russians purely for being Ukrainian, harassed abroad by Russians, if you look at all of the videos that Russians themselves are putting out online of harassing Ukrainians abroad in European Union, you know, those Russians that don't support the war and don't support Putin for some reason still calling us slur words and harassing us abroad? I don't think that's one madman. I think that is plenty of people. So yeah, I think you should adjust your math there. Anyways, anybody who tries to apologize for Russia and anybody who tries to excuse Russia and Russians and stuff like that, it's honestly at this point, it's so incredibly gross to me. It's so gross. So incredibly gross. I really can't even begin to, comment on that. I'm going to be banned from all social medias if I start commenting on the things that I feel in the past month or so. In the past month or so, my feelings on everything that's happening have been amplifying so much. And it's not uncanny because so much stuff has been happening. One of which is Russians are destroying all of the electrical infrastructure, which is a marker of genocide because they're trying to destroy people. They're trying to break the people so people can't live, so people can't be warm, so people can't have food, so people can't cook, so people don't have gas, don't have electricity, don't have running water. And so they're shooting at objects of civil infrastructure, critical civil infrastructure. And it's horrifying. It's so horrifying. And then people ask you, why do you hate Russians? How can you hate Russians? And things like that. And it's hate is such a strong emotion. And I've said it so many times. I don't hate. From the beginning of this invasion, I kept saying, I don't hate Russians. I just don't want to ever have to hear from them or have anything to do with them, right? Because hate is a much stronger emotion than love. And while love is an emotion that you experience without having to put effort into it, hate is something that fills you, and hate is something that you have to keep up with. You have to fuel it. So you have to, it takes effort. But at this point, it's I am filled with it. And it's it's been growing and growing and growing in the past month. And it's not, it's not unjustified. It's not unjustified because there is There are hundreds of thousands of men who come to my country and do unspeakable things in my country. Then there is hundreds of thousands of regular people, your everyday average Russians, who quite literally are just either not doing anything or trying to excuse themselves from the behavior of their fellow countrymen rather than do anything to prevent it. And it's so incredibly upsetting. So incredibly upsetting. And you know, in the past 8 months that I've been doing these broadcasts, and that I've been talking about the invasion of Ukraine, and that I've been talking about the atrocities, and that I've been saying about how I'm so disappointed in Russians because they just sit and watch instead of doing anything. Not a single time, and I've said this so many times, not a single time, not one of the Russians, of the like liberal anti-war Russians, has said something like, hey, what can we do? What can we do to do better? What are we not doing right? What are we not doing enough of? Every single one of them comes in and starts being like, well, not all Russians. Well, I donated. Well, I did this. And they want like a special cookie for it. Like they want a special cookie for being Russian and not supporting the war. And it's like, since when are we giving special merits to people who are just decent? Since when are we giving special merits for being an okay human being? Since when are we giving special merits to someone who is against something that's clearly atrocious? Why is it that Russians in large numbers want a medal and an order of recognition for the bare minimum? Heroям slava. That's what I don't understand. And when Russians come in and they're like, well, I'm against the war, but we can't do anything, we can't do whatever, we can't protest, we can be jailed, we can be this, we can be that. It's like, okay, well, you can be jailed, honey. And most people in Ukraine would rather be jailed than go to bed every night not knowing if they're going to wake up tomorrow. And the thing is, the reason why you're not protesting is because you are so scared of being harmed that you would rather watch us be killed every day than put yourself in harm's way to fix the mistakes that generations of Russians have made that led to this government having power. And the thing is that like Russians very often argue Ukrainians on like history and stuff like that. But you know, fact of the matter is, this is not the first government of yours that you elected, that you perpetuated, that has done this to us. Russians in the USSR were a superior nation. If you were Russian, you had the doors open to you everywhere. If you were Ukrainian, Jewish, if you were Kazakh, if you were from any other republic, you had less opportunities. And Russians loved it because, of course, you love being, you know, Russians in the USSR, it was like the equivalent of white people in the world, right? Privilege. There was a huge privilege. And Russians enjoy that privilege. Ukrainians were destroyed in the 30s. Ukrainians were destroyed in the 60s. Ukrainians were always destroyed for wanting to be Ukrainian, for speaking Ukrainian, for wanting to read Ukrainian, for wanting to write in Ukrainian, for reading Ukrainian literature, for Ukrainian schools. Ukrainians were consistently, for centuries, destroyed by Russia and Russian leaders for wanting to be Ukrainian. Russians always looked down on us. We were always chachli, which is a slur to them. Everybody always looked down on us. Anytime we spoke Ukrainian, they would immediately start speaking Russian to them. One of the things that incredibly annoys me is that anytime a Russian comes into this broadcast, like the liberal Russian, they start speaking Russian to me. It's like, I'm from Ukraine. What makes you think that I know how to speak Russian. I personally do because my half of my family was first deported to Russia, to Siberia, and then moved to Ukraine. So yeah, I do know how to speak Russian because my family was literally like my grandmother's parents were sent off into Siberia. Okay? One for being Jewish and the other ones we don't know. So yeah, I know how to speak Russian. Okay? Because they were sent off to Siberia and literally Russificated and colonized in Siberia. And then in the 40s, they moved to Ukraine when my grandma and my grandpa were babies or like children. But I'm from Western Ukraine. If it wasn't the case, if my great grandparents weren't tortured by Russian authorities, I wouldn't freaking know how to speak Russian. I'm from the west of Ukraine where Russian colonization didn't come that far. Why is it that Russian people feel like they have this, like they're entitled to me speaking Russian to them? It's like if you're French and you come to my broadcast, you don't start speaking French to me thinking I would know how to speak French. Or if I say I don't understand, they're like, oh, shut up, you do. It doesn't matter if I do. It's my choice whether I want to speak to you in that language or whether I don't. It's like if I was doing this broadcast in Ukrainian and somebody came in and was like, speak English. I know you can speak English. It's like, well, I choose not to. I don't want to speak English. I don't want to speak Russian. I made a conscious choice that I literally would love to forget that language. I would love to never have to hear it again. I have PTSD from Russian at this point, and I'm not even in Ukraine in active battlefield. I hear Russian speech outside, and I automatically, as a reaction, start singing Ukrainian songs. And it's a defense reaction. It's a coping mechanism. And I would give so many things to never, ever, ever, ever have to deal with a Russian person ever again. Because unfortunately, every time I do, it's always a disappointment. And it's always like, I don't know, we always owe them something. Even if they're anti-war, it's always us who owes them something. It's always us who, I don't know, somehow wronged them in some way. They can never do anything to change the situation because they either can't protest or they can go to jail or there are not enough of them. It's always an oxymoron. It's always like, oh, there's so many people, but we can't do anything. Most people in Russia are against the war, but we can't do anything because we can go to jail. Then when you give them actual methodologies of how to protest, they go, oh, there are not enough people. There is always an excuse for it. Because, of course, it's much easier to sit in the comfort of your home, not speak out against your government, and then complain about your government and complain about the fact that you don't have freedoms while you don't want to fight for them, and sit on a couch and watch Ukrainians die while you're scared of getting scathed at a protest. And then go to a protest with a sign that says peace in a dictatorship and be confused and upset that those protests didn't work. So yeah, again, to the question of whether I hate Russians. No, I'm filled with an overtaking bit of incredible disappointment, negativity, and oh, there we go. See? Ha! Oh my gosh, look, here's a vivid example. This guy says, do you hate Russians? I'm Russian. I can't do much to help anyway. Try to complain about Ukrainian government in Ukraine. Oh, we did. Orange Revolution? Heard of that one? Also, anytime you tell Russians that they're not doing something, immediately they're just like, but what about Ukraine? And it's like, okay, so here's the thing. First of all, yeah, we did. 2004, Orange Revolution. 2014, Yanukovych. Oh, we complain about our government plenty. And you know what we do? When we are unhappy, we take them down. Oh, man. Okay. Ukrainian government is the same evil. All governments of the world are the same. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. So, Mr. Brainwash, it was nice to have you over. I thank you for proving my entire point, because you have no idea how much credibility to all of the statements that I just gave, you just provided. So thank you so very much for your ignorance, and thank you so very much for how brainwashed you are, and exactly for how incredibly representative of the Russian population you are. So thank you for that. Disgusting. But see, that's the thing. I didn't even see that there. I didn't even see that there. As I was talking about it, this dude did exactly what I was just talking about. The second that you criticize what they're doing, instead of being like, oh, what can I do better? They immediately turn the tables. They immediately start like pointing fingers at you. They immediately start talking about Ukraine. They're like, I'm against the war. I'm a good Russian. The second you're like, hey, you guys are not doing anything, you just want to watch us die, they're like, oh, really? But Ukraine is bad because this, and that. It's like, I thought you hated your government. I thought you were against the war. I thought you recognized that this is horrible. Why do you feel like the first thing you should do is complain about Ukrainian government? Like, this is so funny. This is so funny because it was literally the exact representation of what I was just talking about. Well, like, genuinely, thank you. You made my job of explaining why you guys are so incredibly upsetting so much easier. I didn't even like, this was an illustrative example. This was like, I could not have, you can't make this up. Anyways, but yeah, to the question of whether I hate Russians, no. I'm overfilled with a lot of incredibly negative emotions towards Russia and Russians because clearly, see, your everyday Russian is just like this. Thank you so much, Lisa. Welcome to the spy lair. But yeah, your everyday Russian is exactly like every Russian that I just mentioned. Most of them are, at least. And no, I don't hate them because, as I said prior, hate is an emotion that requires effort, and I'm willing to spend no effort on Russians. They don't get to have that power over me. They don't get to have the power of hating them over me. They don't get to take over my thoughts for longer than a couple of maybe minutes a week where I give in, But no, here's the thing. I don't hate Russians. I don't ever want to think about Russians. Once this war is over, once we win, and once we take them, and once we push them out of our country, this is where the notion of Russians for me ends. And I am never, ever gonna think about them again, because they don't deserve my attention. They don't deserve to be in my thoughts for a minute. They don't deserve my time. And that's all. They don't deserve an emotion coming from me as strong as hate. Simply because they literally do not deserve my time. That's all. Okay, so now on to the news for today. As I said, 1.5 million Ukrainians are experiencing electricity and gas and water outages. Hi, Drake. Hi, Luann. Oh my gosh, Sin. Oh, you funny little thing. What's up? Sorry, Cindy is like sleeping at my foot, which is kind of funny. At least to me. He's like sleeping on my foot. Sleeping on my foot. I would show her to you, but she's literally sleeping on my foot under like a blanket. But so yeah, Ukrainians, 1.5 million Ukrainians have been cut off from electricity, gas, water supply. It's a really crappy time right now because it's getting cold, and a lot of people are they have to buy like camping gear in order to warm their apartments and stuff like that. But we have this saying in Ukraine that just came out, and it says, one incredibly harsh winter is 1,000 times better than a lifetime of living under Russia. And Russians want to break us. They want to ruin our infrastructure. Thank you so much, Darlene. They want to make us feel weak. They want to make us feel useless. They want us to struggle. They want us to suffer, and they want us to give in. But the thing is, every single Ukrainian thinks the same way as this. One incredibly harsh, cold, difficult winter is much better than a life under Russians. So yeah, you're not going to break us. You're not going to make us submit. Everything that you do that hurts us, everything that you do that is aimed at breaking our spirit, only makes us stronger, because it fuels our desire to get as far away from you as possible. I have a French bulldog. I would show you, because she's a patriotic little thing that high-fives me on glory to Ukraine, but she's sleeping finally. And she's hard to tame. She's a gremlin. And she's the kind of gremlin that they become when you, wet them or feed them when they get like crazy. So whenever she chills out a little bit and she sleeps, it's like the one time in my life where I can relax. So I'm not going to wake her up. I'm going to let her sleep. Okay, in the Dnipropetrovsk region, firefighters rescued a 6-year-old boy during fire suppression. He was frightened and hid in a closet. So someone's asking on Twitch, I have been looking for some friends in Donetsk, Luhansk, and Mariupol on VK. Is there another site they're using? No one in Ukraine is using VK. VK has been forbidden since 2014 or 15, since the invasion. And Ukrainians themselves literally stopped using VK a very, very long time ago. We use Telegram, we use Facebook, we use Instagram. No one in Ukraine uses VK. VK is a Russian site, and no Ukrainians are on it. Unless they're like Vatniks. Giorgia Meloni, leader of the Brothers of Italy political party, officially took the oath of office as head of the Italian government on October 22nd. Meloni became the first female prime minister in the history of the country. The photo shows how cynically Russia is destroying critical facilities in Ukraine. It leaves thousands of families without electricity, water, and heat. In 2014, so to me, legend, in 2014, Pavel Durov, the founder of Vkontakte, which is VK, was exiled from Russia or in 2015 or something like that, because he was requested to submit all of the data that he has gathered on the Ukrainian users of VK. And he did not comply. And so his company was taken away from him and he fled from Russia because obviously he was target number one. Ukraine had blocked VK and you cannot use it unless you are using VPN or something like that, because VK is an unsafe site that targets Ukrainians, takes our data, and tries to use it against us. And Russian authorities, after exiling Pavel Durov, basically took over VK and took over our data. So no one in Ukraine uses VK for a very long time. VK is a really dangerous website for Ukrainians, and it's literally like a Russian generated. Yeah, we used to use VK. We used to use VK before 2014. It used to be like an Eastern European Facebook, but it's Russian Facebook now. I think maybe some other Eastern European countries still use it, but it's a gross place full of Russian aggression. And no one wants to have anything to do with it. Okay, a protest against Israel refusing to supply Ukraine with weapons occurred in Jerusalem. Take a look. Some asks on YouTube, why would anybody want to take a chance on using it? No one does. There are vatniks, like the people who were paid off by Russia to correct airstrikes and to leak information, as in people who are just treasoners, those exist in every country. Those probably use VK. Most Ukrainians don't. I want to say 99% of Ukrainians don't use this garbage since 2014. Consequences of a missile attack on the energy systems of the Rivne region. Take a look. Seventy-year-old Kateryna holds a candle in her house during a power outage in Borodianka, Kyiv region. Russia announced its intentions to increase its targeting of Ukraine's electricity, water, and other vital infrastructure at the nearly 8 months war mark. On Thursday, a nationwide campaign to conserve electricity was launched, asking the public to reduce their electricity consumption. October 20th, 2022. Here is the photo. This is what I was saying. Russia wants to target Ukrainian infrastructure in an act of despair. This is what if you are a loser, if you're a complete loser, you have nothing to show for yourself, you're losing and you can't win in an honest way, you start doing dirty things. And that's what Russia is doing right now. They are doing dirty things. And by dirty things, I mean they're trying to win using super dirty methodologies, right? As in, they can't win on the battlefield. They can't win in the honest way because they're just, they're not on their land. They have a garbage army that's undertrained, understaffed, underprepared, undersupplied. And so, because they know that they can't win, they resort to trying to break the population and trying to use dirty tactics, like destroying cities. That's what they did in Mariupol. They destroyed it to the ground because they couldn't take it. And more than that, They couldn't take it being outnumbering Ukrainians 14-1. The reason why they threw so many resources at Mariupol, and they couldn't break down those Mariupol defenders. The guys from Azov, the 36th Marine Brigade, they were still there, and they wouldn't let it go. And so instead of winning in an honest way, they were just shelling it and shelling it and shelling it and shelling it. It's disgusting. The Ukrainian word hrubka, translated as stove, was mentioned for the first time in the more than 100-year history of New York, 170-year history of the New York Times. The word was used in the NYT article about preparations for a difficult winter in Ukraine. It was noticed by a Twitter account that follows words that appear for the first time on the pages of the leading American newspapers. A hrubka is a wood or coal-fired home stove, usually used for home heating and, if there is a convenient surface, for cooking. So that's actually really cool. So Twitter account is New York Times NYT first said, and they basically follow and bring to light words that the New York Times used for the first time in its history. Prime Minister of Japan, Fumio Kishida, said that Russia's use of nuclear weapons would be seen as an act of hostility against humanity, according to the New Indian Express. He added that the 77-year period of no nuclear weapons use must not be ended. German Minister of Foreign Affairs and Minister of Defense demand a threefold increase in spending on arms aid to Ukraine, according to Der Spiegel. So here is a video on Ukraine Now that's been translated. It's an interview with some sort of Russian colonel, I guess. I mean, I'm not really sure what Russian badges mean, to be honest. So I'm going to send it to myself on my computer, as you know, and I'm going to show it to you full screen. Just give me a second so I can locate it and so I can send it to myself, because for some reason lately these videos have been saving in an odd order. I can save a video that's from today and it'll save way above behind things that have been on my iPad for a while now, and so it's really strange. But let me see what I can do about this. It's so annoying, to be honest. But you know that I really like showing videos from Ukraine Now, because I think that they're such well done snippets that explain to you things in a very educating, very simple manner. And they also do subtitles that are very good for certain things. I just don't understand why. Oh, recents. Okay. So there we go. There we go. Boom.
Труд всех подряд, людей, которые не имеют никакого боевого опыта, в том числе.
В указе четко сказано, что предпочтительно, конечно, брать не обязательно, вот только тех, которые имеют а предпочтительно брать тех, в первую очередь, у кого есть определенный боевой опыт. Конечно же, мы этого придерживаемся, и у нас не все имеют боевой опыт.
Для этого слаживание
Конечно,
проводится.
для этого проводится боевое слаживание в течение 10 дней в районе полигона. Потом люди прибывают в район проведения специальной операции, там с ними еще дополнительно будут проведены занятия уже непосредственно с теми инструкторами, которые имеют боевой опыт. То есть сразу никто не побежит туда на передовые.
Понятно. То есть отсутствие боевого опыта – это не основание для отсрочки.
Конечно.
Поэтому понятен ответ.
And these are Russians that were saying, that partial mobilization is only concerning the people that have combat experience. So what can you learn in 10 days when it comes to combat experience? What can you learn in 10 days? And this guy is blatantly lying because he says that, oh, you're not going to be sent straight to the front line. There were guys who were mobilized on the 21st of October, sorry, of September, and they were taken into captivity, in Ukrainian captivity, on the 27th of September. That's 6 days apart. And if they were taken into captivity, then let's say they were there already for a day or for 2 or for 3. So they were shipped straight to the front line. No 10-day training, even the glorious 10-day training that will turn you into a soldier when you have no combat experience. So that is a blatant lie. But it's crazy how, on Russian TV, they try to pose it as if they have it together, as if this is somehow grounded, and as if this is like a tactic and there's thought behind it and they've worked through it. Meanwhile, it is completely obvious that this is just a blatant lie, and this is just a blatant misinformation and blatant disregard for anything. Some units of the Russian army are leaving the temporarily occupied territory of Kherson region. They've retreated from Charivne and Chkalova and evacuated the officers and the medical personnel from Borislav, reports the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Also, so here is a situation report sort of on Novakakhovka Dam that I want to provide you with. Don't take it as a fact. Don't take it at face value, but that's something to think about. So basically, Kakhovka Dam has been drained quite significantly. And so now there is information coming in that even if Russians were to blow it up, it wouldn't cause nearly as crazy of a flood as originally expected, because the levels of water in the Kakhovka Dam have been drained. And so it wouldn't have the ability to flood 80 settlements, including Kherson, and it wouldn't have the ability to cause nearly as much damage as they're intending to. So apparently there is work being done in order to prevent the catastrophe of a large scale that Russians are evidently planning on inflicting, according to multiple sources, research, and the movement of their equipment, and the fact that they have mined it. So there is the light at the end of the tunnel. As of today, it looks like even if they did blow it up, it wouldn't cause the damage they're expecting to cause with it. Okay. The United States sees no signs that the Russian Federation is interested in ending the war, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. On the contrary, he says, Russia doubles and triples its aggression, manifesting itself in the mobilization of hundreds of thousands of Russians, fictitious referendums and illegal annexation, and the bombing of civilian infrastructure. Vladimir Leontiev, the Kremlin-appointed so-called head of the occupation administration of the Novakakhovka district of the Kherson region, stated that the Kakhovka reservoir is being emptied to reduce the scale of losses in case of the destruction of the HPP. So this is really funny because they are trying to blame Ukraine in the blowing up of the Kakhovka reservoir. So here are two things. What I just said earlier, the reason why I said don't take it at face value, don't take it as a fact, is because there is Russian involvement there. And anytime Russians are doing something, they're obviously not doing it from the goodness of their heart, right? They're not emptying it to reduce the damage in case the reservoir is going to be damaged or destroyed, right? They're the ones mining it. So they're trying to set Ukraine up, and they're trying to say that Ukraine would be the one who would blow it up, and they're trying to say that Ukraine is planning false flag operations. Meanwhile, that would make no sense because that would damage the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant's capacity to cool down the reactors. That would damage more of Ukrainian infrastructure. Basically, in layman's terms, we have no interest in damaging the Kakhovka reservoir because that is going to create more problems for us than we already have, right? And we already have a lot of infrastructure problems because of Russia. So we have there. It's just incredibly illogical to do that. So the fact that they're draining the water out of it, I'm very curious as to what this is. It's either an elaborate plan to try and make it look like, in fact, if something does happen or when it does happen, to try and set up Ukraine to be like, look, we've emptied it. We tried. We wanted to help. And then these Ukrainians, they did this awful thing. Or there is an incredibly evil master plan behind it, because there is no way that they're emptying it to minimize the damage, because then why are they mining it to begin with? They know that they're okay, they can say whatever they want to the world, right? But at the end of the day, they know that they've mined it. They know that if something happens to it, it's going to be them. So what's the point for them to try and minimize the damage they are trying to inflict, right? Zelensky says Iran is lying that it does not sell drones to Russia. There is an agreement on thousands. German Minister of Justice Marco Buschmann said the country's policy regarding the Nord Stream 2 pipeline construction contributed to the war in Ukraine. We are dealing with dictators who make territorial claims and who count on the fact that Western democracies will leave them under pressure. At that time, it was believed that we were talking about Czechoslovakia. Likewise, many believed that we were talking about Crimea, or later about Ukraine. But this is not so. Our entire system of values is under attack here, said Bushman. In his opinion, nothing can be achieved with a policy of reconciliation because the dictator perceives this only as an invitation. He also mentioned that Russia had already conducted large-scale destabilization operations in the Baltic states. This is honestly the first time that someone took a very right, a very correct, a very strong stance and admitted to their fault and admitted to contributing and in a large scale to what is happening now, because they have just fallen for the dictator, and they have fallen for their charms, and they have fallen for the money associated with it, and they have fallen for the scheme. And this is big. The fact that a German Minister of Justice said that the Nord Stream 2 pipeline construction contributed to war in Ukraine, and that the policy of reconciliation is just the invitation. This is what Ukrainians have been talking about this whole time, is that all of these reconciliations, all of this reintegration of Russia into society, all of this, we have to live with Russia at the end of the day, is just showing Putin that he can keep doing what he's doing, because at the end of the day, the world is going to have to deal with it. And him saying that, no, we shouldn't, is a big deal. It's a big political move, and it's a big signal to send to Putin. On February 25th, the Russian army sniper fired at a car of civilians in the village of Novy Burluk in the Kharkiv region, killing a 10-year-old girl and wounding her grandfather and grandmother. The press service of the National Police reported this today. They said that on February 25th, the grandfather, along with his granddaughter, went to the store to pick up her grandmother. At that time, a Russian sniper fired at their car. The bullet hit the child and passed right through. While transporting the wounded girl to a medical facility in Chuhuyev, their car came under fire again. The girl was killed and the grandparents were wounded. The man was carrying the child's body in his arms to a nearby village. He first buried the granddaughter in the yard of his own house and then reburied her in the cemetery, the police reported. Can you imagine being a grandparent and having to carry a lifeless body of your grandchild to your own backyard to bury her there because she lost her life on your way to a store to buy some groceries? And it wasn't like a casualty, it was deliberate. A sniper did that. Volodymyr Zelensky says NATO member states must realize whether they will be geopolitically stronger without Ukraine or whether they will feel they will be safer with Ukraine because Russia today threatens not only us. Hi, Max. NATO countries conducting military exercises near the borders with Ukraine and Belarus, Defense Express. In addition to Lithuanian forces, 9 other NATO countries, including Germany, Norway, the United Kingdom, and the United States, are participating in the Iron Wolf exercise, which is taking place in Lithuania. In addition, Puma training is running in Poland in the Rzeszów area, which has become an important logistical hub for arms transfers to Ukraine by NATO countries. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell urged Biden to increase arms supplies to Ukraine. He also promised that Republicans in the Senate would guarantee the timely delivery of more weapons to Ukrainian troops. Well, that's very funny that Mitch McConnell is saying that because half of the Republicans are incredibly against sending any arms to Ukraine. And the funny thing is, the reason why they're speaking out right now, evidently, is because there is an election and they want to trick you into thinking that if you vote for them, they're actually going to be as much as, he just wants you to believe that if you vote Republican, if you're on the fence and you're pro-Ukrainian, they're going to guarantee the weapons deliveries. Meanwhile, they actually can't guarantee that because there are a lot of Republicans in the party that disagree with this, and they're all stating that their aim is completely the opposite. So don't fall for this. This is him doing damage control. Damage control. And this is one man who has no power over the entire party saying this literally at the brink of elections because he sees the public outrage and he now sees that a lot of people in their electorate actually don't agree with the whole don't send arms to Ukraine policy. Hungary will ratify Sweden's and Finland's applications to join NATO by the end of the year. Politico quoted Minister of the Prime Minister's Office, Gergely Gules, as saying, Hungary and Turkey are the only countries that have not yet ratified the accession of Sweden and Finland to NATO. This is Hanna, her pigeon Serhii, and a toy rabbit at the railway station in Przemysl, Poland. The woman and her daughter were forced to leave Zaporizhia due to constant shelling. When Hanna told her story to Diana, the author of this photo, she cried. But then she took a toy rabbit and started playing with Serhiko, the pigeon. So here is her. So this lady has a little pigeon with her that she's adopted, and that's her pet. And she took the pigeon with her when she evacuated Zaporizhia. So Ukrainian people are so silly in like a great way with, with the fact that they save all of the lives. Yeah, she has a pet pigeon. And like they save, our people save all the lives that they can. Like this lady took her pet pigeon with her. Yeah. Volodymyr Zelensky, dialogue with Russia is politically possible, but without ultimatums and threats after the return of our territories temporarily occupied by Russia, all without exception. Ukrainian servicemen at the front line in Kharkiv region, October 2022. Take a look. There are no circumstances in the world that would force Ukrainians to stop. We are fighting for the entire civilized world, for truth, for justice, for democracy, for freedom. It is impossible to break Ukrainians. You can only anger Ukrainians. We will continue our fight for as long as it takes. Next stop, victory. That is all the news that I have today. I do see a comment that's incredibly, ignorant that I want to read. Yeah, and that's why, in my opinion, the US needs to stop sending money. Let Europe pay for it. Europe has spent a fraction of what the US has. Okay, so in order to prove a point to Europe, you want to sacrifice Ukrainian lives. First of all, the US has the largest military spending budget and the largest military capabilities of all of the NATO countries. The US has the weapons that Ukraine needs more than Europe does. As in, the US has more weapons that Ukraine needs than Europe does. The US has more of the amounts of these weapons. And so you want to prove a point to Europe because you want to be like, oh, we've spent so much money and you didn't. So let me say that we should just let Ukrainians die so we, the United States, can prove a point to Europe that they could do better. Right? That's your point? You want to sacrifice human life and you want to let Russia invade more and castrate more and essay more and loot more and and execute more and imprison more and torture more just so you can prove a point that Europe only sent a fraction, caps lock, of what the US has, right? Here's the thing. The US is sending weapons because the US has the weapons that no one else has or is willing to send. That's why the US is sending weapons. And I'm excited to see what other ignorance you want to spew here. There we go. All we do is go to war and kill millions of innocent lives. Look at the past 50 years and our wars. It's disgusting. War Machine America, big biz. Oh, so now your rhetoric has changed from Europe should be sending weapons to it's about the US being a war machine. I'm going to go ahead and say that you're a Russian troll and this script is very old. This script is way too old. And, it got very old very fast. First of all, it is so interesting to me that you cannot elaborate on your thoughts by continuing the train of thoughts, right? So you decide to first say that it's not about that, right? It's about the fact that you as an American feel like Europe could do better. And now it's just about funding the wars, right? So it's not about who can do better anymore. It's about the US being a war machine, huh? Right. Okay, so that script is incredibly old. I'm incredibly tired of it, and I'm also not going to pay any more attention to it. But here's the thing, when you go into your troll factory and when you get your troll script, I suggest that you sometimes kind of don't just spew, copy and paste. You maybe look at the situation and try to adjust the script sort of so it at least fits. And so, people can believe that it's your actual real thoughts. And so it makes sense, because you contradicted yourself within the last 2 minutes. These opinions don't match, honey bunny. How are you going to argue something if you're using contradicting opinions to argue it? Why do I have to school the trolls on how to appear more realistic every single time I see one? Honestly, I'm tired of this. Do better. What are you getting paid for? It's an easy job. This is literally probably the easiest job in the world, is just to sit here and spew hate and cause controversy. Just do better, dude. This job doesn't require that much skill. My God. Oh my gosh. Now it's the millions of innocent lives that US has murdered over the decades. I thought you had a problem with the fact that the US is the largest weapon supplier. I thought it was about the fact that Europe should be supplying more. And now it's about the innocent lives that US has murdered over decades. Well, here's the thing. Also, if you were actually an American, you wouldn't build your sentence saying which the US has murdered over decades. That's not how it works. I would also suggest that you take some courses of English language. That way your troll self would appear a little more American, but just based on how you build your sentences and based on the words you choose, I can tell you're not American. So how about we end this charade and you go back to drinking vodka in Russia or whatever it is that you were doing. And maybe you visit someone else's stream who is a little more gullible and who is a little more privy to falling for this contradicting narrative that makes zero logical sense. And instead of that, actually, let me backtrack a little and let me correct myself. Be better at your job, dude. Like, it's not that difficult to be a troll, honestly. But evidently it is, because look at that. That's just shameful. Honestly. What are you, like, seriously, what do they pay you for this? This is some very low quality trolling. Anyone could do better. Anyways. Yeah. Seriously, just put a Z on your avatar. Why hide? Anyways, that's all I had for today. It's 4:20. I'm gonna check if the podcast had come out yet. I don't know if it did. It probably hasn't yet. It's most likely gonna be around 5. But yeah. No, it's not there yet. Oh, upsetting. Rainbow is asking, I hear typical Russian trolls can spell correctly. Is that true? Yes, most of them make like really basic mistakes. And they also, it looks like they just slammed on the keyboard because they have to answer a lot of different threads and a lot of different like conflicts that they start on different social media. So they don't like actually look at what they're typing, right? They just like slam on the keyboard. And so they make a lot of just like basic mistakes, you know, just like using wrong letters. And I don't mean like misspelling as in like, oh, you know, that's weird, he doesn't know how to spell. Like, no, it's just like a word salad, like, or like letter salad. That's a thank you, Sophia. That's a big beacon of a troll. Another thing that they do is like they will use random like odd words that no one would actually use, you know, like murdering. Like the US like was murdering people worldwide, you know, like that's not something we would say in the US. Like, would you ever refer to like American deployments as like murdering people worldwide? No, murder is like usually one person kills another, you know, it's not like. Anyways, yeah, so that they will use like some random terms. It's just like something's always off, you know, and it's usually very like subtle or very out there off. And I know that sometimes it's hard to tell because a lot of people actually don't know how to spell, but like Russian trolls, usually if you see someone with a very, 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 very like pro-Russian opinions, they don't know how to spell and something's off, it's a troll. 100%. Anyways, okay, guys. Thank you so very much for listening to me on a Sunday. Thank you for spending your Sunday afternoon with me. Cindy and I have so much laundry to finish today. We did a lot yesterday, and we are on a roll. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Nastya, wait! Oh wait! Oh my gosh! Anastasia, my aunt, is here. The one with the doll, the one that made the beautiful doll that I showed you yesterday. Wait, I'm going to show you again. So we're going to do an auction for this doll. Actually, Nastya, good to see you here. I want to tell you that a lot of people said that they would be interested in that we should totally do the auction. So Nastya makes like wigs for these like beautiful collectible dolls, and she also like paints their faces and stuff. And so she made this like Ukrainian doll. She looks like a Ukrainian girl. And so she wants to put it up for auction. And she wants to basically sell it, and all of the money from all of the earnings from the auction will go to fund students at the academy where she works, who can't pay for their education. So this is the doll. Look at her. Look at this beauty. So she's wearing like a little vyshyvanka, and she has like the little, you know, the little oh my gosh, what are braids, little braids. And look at the detail. I'm going to show you closer. Wait, but look at how pretty. And she has like a little Ukrainian necklace that comes with her too, korali. I will show you in a second. But look how beautiful. So she has like little, wait, she's like little, see? Embroidery. She's little Vyshyvanka. She has a little, she has like a little flowers in her hair. So Anastasia is not in England. She's in Wales now. Drake. And she really likes it there. So this doll. And then wait. I think I have more. 1 second. I had so much more. Oh, yeah. So she comes with these little korali. She's like a little Ukrainian necklace. And we're going to put her up for auction. And I'm going to let you know. Working your ass off in Wales. Yes, she is. She's working both for the Academy of Arts in Ukraine, where she's been a professor, and she's also working in Wales at an academy as well. And she's just, I'm so proud of her. 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 Okay, now I'm going to go, but I just could not have, just, let it be. Because I'm so excited. Nastya's here. My little noose. She's also, oh my gosh, guys, so this tattoo, the one that everybody always asks me about, this tattoo, the hot air balloon tattoo, she's the author. She's the author. And I like tricked her into doing it. I've been asking her, so I've been basically asking her to draw me a tattoo, but I'm her niece. I'm her like little niece, and it's going to stay on me forever, right? So I've been asking her to draw me a tattoo, and she was like, oh my gosh, she was taking it so seriously. She was like, nothing's good enough. This is going to be in your skin forever. Like, I don't know. I can't do this, so much pressure, whatever. And I just like her art. I like her style, So, so we went to Portland for my birthday, and I was like, listen, I have a deposit down for this tattoo studio. I'm getting a tattoo, and I want you to draw it. And so we were sitting like in a rose garden in Portland, and I made her draw me tattoos, and I got them. So it was this one and this one. But it was like, I had to literally be like, okay, it's non-refundable. We're doing this. You're drawing it and I'm getting it. Like, don't worry about it being on my body forever. I'm sure you'll do great. So yeah, she's the author of this hot air balloon, and it's my favorite tattoo, and I love it so very much, and I think it's so beautiful. So yes. Yeah. It was my birthday like years ago. But yeah. Okay, I'm done now. I'm gonna go now. Thank you for spending your Sunday with me, and thank you for caring about the news coming from Ukraine. And I hope that in the coming days we're gonna hear some better news. But for now, I have to go. Okay, guys. All right. Bye. Bye-bye. Hi, Taz. Bye, guys.